Hey, what's up, friends? It's me, Vindy Vondo, everyone's favorite rat. And today we are going to go through. So on Twitter, I have like a media thread, and we're going to go through that media thread. And we're going to pull out. If you remember last year, I did a video that was my 20 favorite things that I experienced in 2020. So we're going to do that again, but this time instead of me just like telling you them, I'm going to go through my media thread, and you won't see every thing in the media thread, but you'll see the big ones, and then I'll make a list, and then I'll order the list. I think that's gonna be what the video is. So before we get into that, though, hey, be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the little bell so you know when videos go live, and then like it. Be sure to like and leave a comment. And then also, I'm streaming this right now on Twitch. Anyone in chat who wants to say anything, say hello. But I'm streaming right now on Twitch. Most of these videos that I'm going to stream are going to be recorded on Twitch, as well as doing other things like playing games or, doing just stupid bullshit. So go follow me on Twitch. It's going to be twitch.tv/VindyVondo. And when you follow me on Twitch, hit that bell so you can be notified when I stream. Hop into my stream, drop everything you're doing, pull up my Twitch, and hang out. All right, but that being said, let's get into it. Cyberpunk, I'm still really mixed on if I want to put it here, because I actually did really, really enjoy Cyberpunk. The only thing that would not have Cyberpunk be on here is essentially if there's things later on in the list that I decide I like a lot more. So I'm going to save Cyberpunk for now. But I did really enjoy the game. It was like one of my favorite games. And to be fair, I did also mostly play it in 2020. Because, I mean, you can see I finished it the 2nd of January. So, like, I finished it, like, right on the fucking, I think I had, like, 3 quests left that I did like the first day I was free last year. So I mean it barely counts, but I think I won't put it on right now, but I will come back and evaluate if I feel like it should be on later. But I do really like Cyberpunk. I thought it was a good game. Even when it came out, I think people overblew some of the issues with the bugs, and people definitely overblew like fundamental game design issues in the game. And I think a lot of those ideas that people were saying were just like wrong, and like the actual, although to be fair, I didn't use everything in the game. Like I played through it once and I used a melee build, so I didn't even like use the guns in the game. But I mean, I'm sure they're not bad. I'm sure the guns probably were more fun than, well, maybe not more fun than running around with fucking massive gorilla arms and just punching everyone like 10 feet in the air. But I'm sure it was still fun. Final Fantasy VII Remake, I enjoyed, thought it was a good game. Definitely not going on the list. I have too many issues with that game, both in how it plays and just everything about it, that I'm not going to even consider that. BoJack is absolutely something that I'm going to put here. I don't actually think it will make the top 20, but BoJack's definitely good enough that I can very easily see it being somewhere on the list, right? Like BoJack was really good. I fucking love the show. I love BoJack's character. I love the way the show progresses. And I love like the deep dive into BoJack as a person, in terms of like, as the show goes, he kind of recognizes that he's the shitty presence in his life, and then the ways he starts trying to improve himself and get better about things. Assassin's Creed 4 probably won't be on the list, mainly just because I know that there's going to be another Assassin's Creed game on the list. But I did like Assassin's Creed 4 a lot. It's really fucking good. Really fun game. Honestly, really good. I like Edward Kenway's story a lot. Great music. I like being a pirate. I just think Assassin's Creed has some other things that I like more. I really like kind of the social stealth element and these other things in the game. And there's another character that I played in Assassin's Creed last year that I liked a lot more, so I'm not going to put Black Flag on here, but was a good game. These are the Sonic games. There's a podcast on the Weeb Club you can listen to. Anything that I did for the Weeb Club or talked about specifically on the Weeb Club, I probably won't talk about much in this because it's hard to not repeat myself. And, the Sonic podcast, you should just go watch the Weeb Club. But I will say for this, Sonic 2 is definitely going on here. I fucking love Sonic 2. I constantly think about just like if I have like 2 hours and I'm free, I just think like, should I just replay Sonic 2? Because that game's so good. So, really good. Assassin's Creed 2 I am going to put on here. I like Assassin's Creed 2 a lot. I think it's super good. I platinumed it, which I only have 2 platinum trophies at all on PlayStation. Because I'm not generally the kind of guy who 100% games. I think a lot of times it's more trouble than it's worth. And so like I will, when I start a game, I decide what content I'm doing, right? So I just finished, for example, and I finished it technically this year, so it won't go on the thing, but I just finished Yakuza Kiwami. And in that game, I basically made a list of like things that I consider like necessary for me to complete the game, right? And one of them was like I wanted to complete Mashima everywhere, so I completely filled out like the dragon style like skill tree. And so that's generally what I'll do is I'll decide a few things, and I'm like, okay, these are the things that I consider like mandatory for me finishing the game. Especially a lot of times with, like open world games, especially open world, like 7th generation open world games, there's always like so many collectibles and minor things you have to do. So I wasn't even necessarily, when I started the game, planning to get the platinum, but it reached the point where I was like 3/4 of the way through the game, and I was getting most of the trophies, and I was really enjoying playing the game. And I realized like the only thing that I'd really have to go out of my way to do that I'm not planning on doing anyways in like my predetermined course of like things I'm doing for the game is getting the feathers. So I just pulled up a feather map and went and did all those. And that only took me like an hour. Like I think I platinumed this game in like 20 hours, which is the same amount of time that it took me to get my only other platinum, which is Spider-Man PS4. Which was a very similar thing, whereas an open world game, although in that game, the collectibles were like the easiest part of platinuming it, because it was those backpacks that I want to get anyways, because the backpacks are what give you the cool suits that I want to use, so it's, So yeah, I mean, AC2 is on here almost just because I actually 100%ed it, which I never do. That's not even counting the fact that I love Ezio's story in the game, and I like the gameplay a lot, and I love the way the game looks, I like the location a lot, and I love going through, the different areas in Italy. It's really good. So yeah, Always Sunny I'm going to talk about. Sket Dance absolutely goes on here. Phenomenal manga. One of the best. This is going to be very high up on the list. One of the best things I experienced last year. Super fucking good. Shit made me cry like a baby. Phenomenal. BioShock 1 is the first thing that like I replayed BioShock 1 because I used to really love the game. Replaying it made me just like it less. Just did not care for the game. Don't like how the game plays. Think the story's kind of overrated. The best part of the game is Rapture, and that's it. And there's another game that does Rapture better, I think. So yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and suck BioShock's dick. I think the game's really clunky, and it wasn't super fun to play through. But I am glad I replayed all the BioShock games. Okay, I'm just gonna put Gintama on here. And so even though I finished season 1 in 2020, I'm just gonna count all of Gintama's anime because I mean I finished season 2, season 3, season 4, and the movie. And movie 2, so I'm just gonna put Gintama, and that's just gonna count for all of the anime because essentially I did complete all of the anime last year. And I mean, we know where Gintama's gonna end up on the ranking. That's not fucking, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Everyone talks about this game being better than 2. I think I like 2 more than it because, like, sure, Brotherhood made improvements on the and Brotherhood was actually the first Assassin's Creed game I played as a kid. I got it like for Christmas, and I remember loving it as a kid. Was super into it. And so I thought I would like the game a lot more. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy a lot of the gameplay improvements, but I don't think the gameplay improvements made up for how much less the story is. Because I'm not going to say that the story's bad, because it isn't, but it's like the middle step in Ezio's life, right? So you have Revelations, which is this ending step that I think ends on a super high note in like his like final scene, which like actually got me a little emotional. And then there's 2, which is like him going right, like almost right up to Brotherhood, and it's like him, his growth as a person, and there's all these things that lead into it, and you really get to see Ezio become a man from like this fucking kid that he is at the beginning of the game. So like Assassin's Creed 2 is fucking great, and Revelations I think story was really good, but Brotherhood I felt like the story was so lackluster compared to all the other Assassin's Creed games I played last year that I can't in good faith like say that I think it's better than 2 because I don't think it is. Resident Evil 5. I forgot how much fun RE5 is. If you play it co-op with a friend. I played it co-op with a good friend of mine. And we just like sat down and played through the game. And we had a blast. Like Wesker is so silly. Because the game is essentially Resident Evil 4. I mean, so the biggest difference is the inventory management, right? Between RE5 and 4 gameplay-wise, the 2 big differences are co-op and then inventory management. And sure, the inventory system's not as good as 4's. I mean, I like 4 more anyways. But the inventory system in 5 is perfect for co-op, so it like evens out, where it's like it's the perfect co-op inventory system. And the game is really fun, and like when the areas are designed for co-op really well, it's great. And like going through the game with someone and you're helping each other, it's just a really fun time. I think it's not going to go on the list unless like I feel like I have to. I did enjoy this probably more than Cyberpunk, but Resident Evil is also one of my favorite game series. So but what I will say is it's probably one of my favorite co-op games just of all time because I think it's so fucking phenomenal. as a co-op game. And like when you're going through it with someone, it just, so many moments work so well, especially because I played Resident Evil 5 a bunch as a kid. It was similar to me with like Brotherhood, where this is one of those games where I had it on my 360 as like a teenager, you know, when I was like 12 to like 15. It was one of those games I had, and I just played it constantly. I would just play it and replay it and replay it and replay it. It was like this. Brotherhood was one of them. Another one was actually Mirror's Edge, which I really want to replay. Maybe I'll do that on stream sometime, because I fucking love the first Mirror's Edge, and I've never played Catalyst. So it's a super nostalgic game for me. Like Halo 3 as well, which when I did with Crafts, if you guys were here for that, if you remember, I just kind of like breezed through the game, and Crafts just kind of sit there and like be along for the ride with me. Thankfully, Resident Evil 5, you kind of can't do that with, but the best part about it is when I know what's coming up. Like, there's a moment where you're in the swamp, and you take, like, these airboats, and then you're going through the swamp, and then there are crocodiles, and if you're not ready for the crocodiles, they insta-kill you. And I was playing with my friend, and I knew the crocodiles were coming up, and I was excited, because this friend is maybe, I don't want to say afraid of, like, water and shit like that, but he kind of is. So when, like, the crocodiles showed up, it was like, let's fucking go. This guy's gonna shit his pants. And I sat there waiting. And I was like walking with him, and I like had my camera turned, and I was watching him, and the crocodiles showed up, and he fucking was so caught off guard. It was great, phenomenal. So Resident Evil 5 goes hard, Pogger's game, but not going on the list. No More Heroes 2 was a good game. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed No More Heroes 1 a lot more, and I did finish that the year before in 2020. But No More Heroes 2 was good. Some moments I really liked, but it wasn't great, and there's some things about the game I just don't like the structure of the game as much. I don't like the jobs, and I don't like not having Santa Destro be like an open world that you kind of explore. I thought that was some of the things that like I think one of the things that made No More Heroes 1 like a really interesting experience for me is you have this like dichotomy between Travis being this fucking otaku loser who's doing like the most inane, like odd jobs to make some money because he's like dirt broke and living in a motel. And then you have him being this cool badass assassin running around with fucking beam katanas slicing people in half, right? And I think that having both sides of that really adds a lot, like even just in gameplay adds a lot to Travis's character. It really helps you understand him, and I think that was missing somewhat from 2. And I haven't played 3 yet because I still haven't finished Travis Strikes Again, and I don't even own 3, but I am curious to see where 3 lies on the thing, because I have intentionally not seen anything for No More Heroes 3 because I don't want to know anything. So yeah, now we're at stream break. If you guys remember this was last spring break. I streamed I think I saw like a thing that was like how many hours I streamed in a different month. I streamed like 70 hours in March because I streamed like 8 plus hours a day every day for spring break. So this was just like a good time, you know. Hunt Down the Freeman, absolutely fucking not even close. One of the worst games I've ever played. Unbelievably dog shit. Terrible experience. Hellblade was good. Great fucking comment by me. A better game about mental health than Celeste. This is one of those things that you just say, I'm really, like when I say this, I'm trying to dig at Twitter users. Like I'm really trying to bait people and the reason that it's good bait is because it's true. But people don't know it's true because people haven't played the game. And people overrate Celeste, but that's besides the point. So Hellblade was really good. I really enjoyed it. I thought the game did some really cool thing with audio. Gameplay was fun. Visually, it was great, and I'm really excited for the sequel, but I just don't think this is, it's not it. Fear is absolutely going on the list. Fear is very close for me for my favorite single-player shooters. Phenomenal campaign. I love the bullet time mechanic. I love the guns. I love that, like, it almost sucks because you don't have it for a lot of the game because you can't get ammo for it. But, like, I spent most of that game, as much as I could, fucking, like I'm in a John Woo movie with 2 pistols, diving around, sliding around in slow motion, shooting guys in office buildings. And then some of the attention to detail in that game is so insane. And when I say attention to detail, I mean, like, world things. Like, small things that, like, actually don't matter. And I wouldn't even say affect the quality of a game, but it's really cool when they're there, right? Like, just like the way that carnage works in the office building with like printers exploding in paper and monitors exploding in electricity and the lighting is really good. And it's not even like a horror game for most of it, but that's kind of what makes it so good is you're in this like office building and it is kind of dark and a little spooky, but then you're just like shooting like guys with guns for most of it. So it's not even like a horror game. It's great. It's phenomenal. Great game. I love Fear. Then I played BioShock 2 and Minerva's Den. And this is the best BioShock game, and Minerva's Den is the best BioShock property. It's actually just fucking not close. Minerva's Din goes so hard and is so good. And I think the most interesting part about Rapture for me is the little sisters, right? Which Bioshock 2 is all about the little sisters and Tenenbaum and all that shit. So Bioshock 2 is already story-wise going to be more what I like. I like playing as the big daddy. I think the game makes noticeable gameplay improvements, and I like the story more. And the Minerva's Den just slaps it out of the park. Bioshock Infinite, not a super big fan. It's fine. I do like riding around the Skyhook, but I could do without it. MH Rise is going on here. And here's the thing about MH Rise. Great game, but it's super tarnished for me because I think that the core of the game is great. I love all the new monsters. I love wire bugs. Palamutes are one of my favorite things. Weapons feel great. Game is great to play. But the game came out unfinished, got patches to essentially finish the story, and then the title update stopped. And I was expecting kind of what World got, where we'd get title updates adding a lot of content. I think currently Rise, without the G-Rank expansion, is massively lacking in content for a Monster Hunter game. Almost criminally so. That being said, I put 60, 70 hours in the game and loved it, but I would have put a lot more if there was more content or more content that would have brought me back to the game. And part of that is what I consider Monster Hunter is like, it is like a game. Like, I think Monster Hunter is best is either a game with just so much content in it that it takes a long, long time to get through, or nowadays what's more likely is it's a games as a service model, right? So we're getting, updates and new things constantly in it. And my problem with Rise was I felt like we didn't really get that, right? I felt like we didn't really get a lot of new content or things to make me want to really go back to the game after the story was completed. So that made it rough. Twerk Hero is actually the best game of the year, but it's so good. I think like Twerk Hero is so good that I think I can't put it on the list. You know what I mean? Like, Twerk Hero transcends media and video games by such a high degree that I think it's a disgrace to put it on a list with all these other things. So I just can't add it. I'm sorry, Kings. Ghostrunner is great. I saw people saying it was the best Cyberpunk game of last year, and that's not true, but it is a great game. It's really fun. If you don't know what Ghostrunner is, it's like a first-person parkour game where you have like a sword and you're going through these levels, and it's very much one of those like these really bite-sized, small, short levels that are just hard as shit. And so you're going through these levels and like you'll die. It's like Super Meat Boy, right? Where it's like you'll die like 100 times in a level, and then you'll get the one that you beat it and you just move on, right? Super fun. I would replay Ghostrunner. I think it's really fun. How long did Ghostrunner take me to beat? I'm actually curious. Okay, here we go. It took me 6 hours. It's like $30. You can get it on sale pretty often. It's fun. Ghostrunner's really sick. I actually recommend it. If you see gameplay for Ghostrunner and you think it looks like it might be your kind of thing, I'd recommend it. I'd probably say wait for a sale unless you're okay with $30 for 6 hours. Obviously, though, I think the thing like with 6 hours is that's going to be very variable based on the player, because Ghostrunner is one of those games that's really hard, and not necessarily just hard, but like you can get lucky, right? Like I could have, because there were definitely levels that I spent like 15, 20, 30 minutes on, like singular levels, and then there were other levels that I beat in like 2 tries or 1 try because I just kind of went through it, and like I probably wouldn't do it in 1 try if I did it again immediately, but because of how it worked, I just kind of got lucky and like breezed through it. So obviously your time with like something like Ghostrunner is going to be very variable, right? It might take someone 12 hours. It could take someone 3 their first time, just because the game is so challenging that like that's where a lot of your playtime comes from, is how long it actually takes you to complete a lot of the challenges. I read Dune book. I got to specify that. Book, absolutely on the list. Phenomenal fucking book. Not my favorite book, but one of my favorites. Really sick, really good. This was, okay, I'm not going to put this on the list because this wasn't my favorite because of like the actual thing itself, but my experience with this was one of my favorite things I did last year. So me and some friends, it was like me and 2 other friends and one of the friends' girlfriends went to an arcade where like we were at this arcade, and there was like, it was like a beer arcade. So there, like the games were all free to play. Like you just press play and then you just buy alcohol. And so we played a bunch of different games. We were going around. They had like a bunch of like classic arcade games and some of the newer stuff. And then me and a friend decided, we got to Time Crisis, and we're like, you know what? We're just going to fucking beat Time Crisis. Like, we're just going to play this fucking game. So we played the entirety of Time Crisis 5 sitting there next to each other. And that was a really fun experience. Like I almost wish that like I could go to arcades more with people, because playing like a light gun shooter co-op with a friend the entire way is such a fun experience, because you're sitting there and there's like the cutscenes and you're blasted and you're talking, and we were drinking. It was a great time. It was really fun. It was funny too, because we were like most of the way through the game, and we were really enjoying playing it, but like one of our friends and his girlfriend, like the other ones who weren't playing, were like wanting to go, and we're like, look, we got to finish Time Crisis. Y'all are going to have to fucking wait. So we sat there playing the whole game and made them wait to leave till we finished the fucking game. But we didn't give a fuck. Shrek 2 goes fucking hard. I don't know the last time any of you guys... I can't have this either, because I watched Shrek 2 all the fucking time when I worked at my old job with kids, because it was there. But Shrek 2 goes so fucking hard. If you haven't seen Shrek 2 in a while, pop that bitch in. It's probably on Netflix or something. Turn it on. Enjoy yourself, right? Live a little. Jedi Fallen Order is good. It's a good Star Wars game. There's one moment that really got me actually emotionally. But besides that, I just thought the game was like fine. I think sometimes it took some stuff from like Sekiro and other Souls games that I didn't. Or it took some things, but then like I wish that one of the big things I wish there were more dual bosses. I wish there were more bosses where it's me and another person with like a lightsaber or something like that, and we're dueling, right? There's really like 2 bosses like that, and they're the best parts of the game. The final boss is fun as fuck, but once you beat it, that's like the only boss like that, and you're like, what the fuck? I want more of that. And it just didn't exist, so it's really sad. But, you know, I thought the game was fun. I'd play another one if they ever did another one, but I don't think they would. ReZero Season 2. Fucking good. Good. This absolutely goes on here. It's a 10. It's one of the only 10s I have this year. I know I did the first core before, but obviously second core, and I rewatched the first core to watch the second. It's so fucking good. Made me cry so often. It just goes hard, and I'm so excited for season 3. It's really hard for me to talk about ReZero because I don't want to spoil anything in this list. And ReZero just, I have a video on my channel about ReZero, and that's mainly about season 1. But what's great is a lot of the and I even had I think I put it in the description because it was so wild. But like all the things that I talked about in that video, were like things that I noticed in season 1 that I connected to, and then I think every single like the core of that video, what I was talking about, is a major theme in season 2. So it just continues. And so if you watch that video, you can understand a little bit of why I like ReZero so much. So you should go watch that ReZero video. I actually really like it. Parks and Rec, I did watch all of, and I actually am gonna add Parks and Rec. But Parks and Rec was phenomenal. It was not great in season 1. Season 1 of the show was not good, but I know people loved it, so I toughed it out. And it gets so fucking good. It's one of the few sitcoms that like actually like has made me like cry, because sitcoms normally don't get me. It's like this, Scrubs, and like that's it. But I mean, it's insane because like it's a really weak first season, which I mean The Office also had, but you know, obviously this show was like made to be a spinoff of The Office. I think by the end, Parks and Rec eclipses The Office by so much, it's not even real. It like blows my mind. It's insane. Arkham Asylum was, did I tweet about it? No. It was good. I didn't love it, but it did things that I enjoyed. And there were things about it that I thought were good. And I think the biggest thing for me about Arkham Asylum is how ahead of the time it was. Obviously, I think people couldn't really see it at the time when the game came out, but looking back on it now, not like obviously it was very clearly influential on the rest of the gaming landscape after it came out. But I think not only was it like influential on things, I actually think Arkham Asylum was just ahead of its time. Like I think Arkham Asylum, and not ahead of its time in the way like it wasn't recognized, because it was, but I actually think Arkham Asylum was so fucking good when it came out that like it feels like a game from like years after it was, right? Because like when did Arkham Asylum come out? Like what, like 2008, 2009? 2009? Arkham Asylum feels like a 2013 video game. Like 2013, 2014. I swear to God. Maybe 2012. This game feels way like later in like because like if you look at game development as like this like line, and like as things happen in games, right? Other games copy what games have done, right? Like Minecraft and a couple other games were really big in like the survival and crafting systems, right? And so then in the 8th console generation, there were a bunch of games that would just add crafting elements to them because these other games were using crafting systems, right? And so then imagine if there was a game from like right before Minecraft came out, like if there was a game from like 2007 that had like crafting elements, right? Then that game is, I would also say, is like a little bit ahead of its time if it used it in a similar way to the way that every other game after started to use it. You know what I mean? I think Arkham Asylum felt very ahead of 2009. And I played other games from 2009 and around that time this year, right? Like I played I played fucking Assassin's Creed 2 and I played BioShock 1 and 2, and Arkham Asylum just feels like it came out later than 2009 because it's so good. It Takes Two definitely goes on here. I did this in a Vindy Craft stream. This actually just is my favorite co-op game of all time, I'm pretty sure. It's so fucking good. The game has so many interesting, unique mechanics as it goes. And it comes back to them, and it never overuses a mechanic. Actually, hold on. I should move this because this is in the way of the fucking... That shows this is going to be in the way of the rankings. It never, like, overuses a mechanic or anything like that. I think it's good. I think It Takes Two is a really, really sick game. One of the best parts about it, and the reason that I can so easily recommend it, is because... Let me hold on. Let me go look it up. So, It Takes Two. It took Crafts and I 12 hours to beat it. So, it's pretty long, actually, I'd say, for a co-op game, right? Like, 12 hours is, like, a good chunk of time, you know? It's on sale right now, but $40 or you could get it for $20 right now. And here's the thing. Only one person has to buy the game for two people to play it. So I own it. I could play it with a friend right now that doesn't own the game. Right? So only one person has to own the game. So that means you can go half and half. So you and a friend can just, because especially if you agree that we're just going to play it together, right? One person owns it. I did that for Wolfenstein Youngblood, which I played in 2020. Me and a friend went half and half. And he, like, I just sent him the money. He bought the game, so he, like, owns it. But, like, we were only going to play it together. It wasn't a good game anyways. So we just go half and half, played it, and that was it. It Takes Two is good. I super recommend it, especially because you can just go half and half with a friend and get it for essentially half the price. Man of Steel. I don't even know what to say about these DCEU movies. The first... Look, the DCEU started off so... unbelievably dog shit. It started at such an insane low point and then got so much better as it went. And it ended like it currently, or not currently, but like the Pog movies in the DCEU, I actually fucking love. But the bad movies in the DCEU are so bad that it makes the DCEU like just need to be like in some way rebooted and just fucking restarted, right? Man of Steel of the bad movies is probably the most tolerable one. That would be terrible. I would hate if they replaced Batman and Superman with Batgirl and Supergirl. I think you need both. I think you need Batman and Superman and Batgirl and Supergirl. I think but you can't replace one with the other. I think they stand for different things. But Man of Steel is like watchable. It's just boring. Batman versus Superman, bad. Bad, terrible even. Actually ridiculously bad. I cannot believe... what are they even doing? Like, what movies are actually connected? Do they include Suicide Squad, Joker? We don't know. We don't know what they're doing with the DCEU right now. Okay, actually, I can tell you for those. So, they do tell you what movies are connected, but even then it's super obvious. So, the new Suicide Squad movie is connected because it's a sequel to Birds of Prey, which is a sequel to Suicide Squad. So, the new Suicide Squad is connected. The new Joker is not connected. Or, not the new Joker, but the Joaquin Phoenix Joker is not connected. We've known that since before it came out. The new Batman movie is not connected. We've known that since before it came out. So, we know which movies are and aren't DCEU, but I do understand how it's confusing for people. But especially as someone who's seen them all, and like even like watching them all and watching Joker this year, it's obvious Joker's not connected. Yeah, but Batman and Superman is terrible. Really bad movie. Suicide Squad is really bad as well. Everyone knows Suicide Squad's bad. I don't have to explain why it's terrible. Will Smith can be likable in any movie, but that doesn't make it a good movie just because you have Will Smith and I like him. Wonder Woman, bad. it seems like at first it's going to be good, and then the ending is so bad that like it just doesn't even fucking make the movie good. The Joss Whedon Justice League. It's so mind-blowing how bad this movie, because I don't think people understood how bad the Joss Whedon Justice League was at the time. Or like how badly Joss Whedon ruined that movie, I should say. Because like it's bad. It's really bad. But I think that watching the Snyder Cut, it's unreal how hard he ruined that movie. There are literally, I shit you not, there are scenes where he added in jokes into the scene that take away from the scene and make it not look like correct. Like it like fucks up the continuity of scenes for him to cut in with a joke that was done in reshoots. Then you watch the Snyder Cut and it has a joke in the same scene. And the Snyder Cut joke is funnier and doesn't ruin the scene. It's insane. Like he literally like tried to add humor and the Snyder Cut's a funnier movie. Like I don't get it. I don't get how one man ruined a movie so fucking hard. And I'm sure the studio had some stuff to do with it as well, but this movie was absolutely fucking eviscerated in post and in reshoots. And the Snyder Cut, we'll get to, actually really good. I really like the Snyder Cut. It was 4 hours. I would watch it again. Aquaman goes hard. Aquaman is a great fucking movie. First good DCEU movie. It's great. Jason Momoa is perfect as Aquaman. He's just a fucking like a himbo. He's stupid. He's silly. I love him. I love Jason Momoa in general. Great movie. I really like Aquaman. That one bitch who was like abusive to Johnny Depp is also super hot in the movie as well. So, you know, it just fucking goes hard. Yeah, see, finally the first DCEU movie that's enjoyable throughout. And then it's followed by Shazam, which is also a great fucking movie. And everyone knows Shazam's good, I think. But Shazam's really fun. It's really good. It's enjoyable. It's entertaining. I had a great time with Shazam. Shazam gets a fucking huge seal of approval from me. Birds of Prey was another good DCEU movie. So here's the crazy part, right? It started with some of the worst movies I've ever seen, and then had 1, 2, 3 legitimately good movies in a row. Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn? Yeah, but that's such a mouthful. But it is a really good fucking full title. And look, it's not amazing, right? It doesn't blow my mind, and it definitely is the worst of the 3 good movies, but it's like a 6. Like it's fun. I sat down, I watched it, I had a good time, I was glad I watched it. It's also short as fuck. Every single other one of these goddamn superhero movies that DC makes are like 3 hours long, 2.5 hours long, 2 hours long. Birds of Prey is like 80 minutes, baby. That shit gets in, gets out, you're done. It's god tier for that. I respect its length. The Dawn to live stream was amazing. I almost want to put this on here. This is Kanye West running around in circles looking like Batman. I mean, just insane. And then we're on a good streak, and even a good streak featuring female heroes, you know? Birds of Prey is great. It has fucking Ramona Flowers in it, which is always a plus for me. And then fucking Wonder Woman comes in and shits the bed. Is bad. Like, she literally just showed up and, like, gave me another bad movie. I was so upset. And then the DCEU peaked. Immediately after, fucking The Suicide Squad came out. And I'm gonna add this movie, actually. The Suicide Squad is fucking great. I love the cast. I fucking love King Shark. He's a silly shark man. He's the love of my life. There's a girl who controls rats as her power. And there's a rat who drinks alcohol. Really good time. All right, like I recommend the new Suicide Squad is really good. Harley Quinn's character arc is technically like a sequel to like Birds of Prey and then Suicide Squad. And you get some stuff out of what happens with her in the movie if you'd seen the previous movies, but it's not a lot, but it is there is some stuff there that you'll get. And there is some stuff also in the movie that is like the movie is a sequel to the previous Suicide Squad movie. Anyone who calls it a reboot's wrong. There's like direct references and things that are directly going off of what happened in the previous movie. Arkham City's really good game. I need to get back to Arkham Knight, but Arkham City's fucking good. Catwoman's hot. Harley Quinn's super hot in this game as well. And she's hot in Arkham Knight. I know someone out there knows what I'm talking about. Yes, sir. So yeah, I like Arkham City a lot. It's really good. I mean, it's better than Arkham Asylum, right? And I thought Arkham Asylum was like ahead of its time, and Arkham City is fucking great. Yeah, I think that the Batman games, like almost like I think every licensed game that's come out since these Batman games has in some way not just existed, but takes things directly from these Batman games and exists in a better state because these Batman games gave them a lot to work with, both like the combat system, the open world traversal, using a bunch of villains in like a good way in the plot and tying it all together, costumes. There's a bunch of things, right, that I think the Arkham games made a lot easier for other licensed games, and not even superhero games, right? There's the Middle Earth games that Monolith make, the Shadow of War and Mordor games. Those I think are made better because of these Batman games. I think there's a lot of licensed games that exist in some part or exist in the way they do because of these Batman games, and I think that their influence, especially Asylum and City, I think those two games' influence on the games industry cannot be understated. They're hugely influential, and I think that all you need to do to know how influential they are is look at the trends that they started that have continued since, right? And when I say that, right, I know that like we talk about in the Weeb Club sometimes, right, when we talk about like influences, right, we'll have this conversation of you can't know if something is directly an influence, especially in storytelling, without it being said, because there are a lot of these storytelling tropes. In games, I think it's much easier to tell if something is influential because you look at actual mechanics and implementation of mechanics and usage of mechanics, right? So I think if you look at Arkham, it didn't create its combat system, but it very much refined it and like created certain things about it and popularized these ideas that then were taken into a bunch of other games that use what is known as Arkham combat, right? It's the same way that you can look at games that are Souls-likes and you can see the direct influence that Dark Souls and its popularity has had on them, right? Because you can identify certain mechanics, and when you can pinpoint where those mechanics came from, you can identify that it is a direct influence. And that can be tricky because to do that, you have to understand at least where a mechanic was popularized in. So I've seen people incorrectly attribute certain open world mechanics to Breath of the Wild because they are Nintendo babies who have only ever played Nintendo games. And the mechanics they attribute have been in other open world games for years, and Breath of the Wild directly took them from them, right? Like I've seen people talk about the towers in Breath of the Wild, and it's like, oh, you do that and it opens up part of the map. It's like, have you played any Far Cry game after 2? Like Far Cry 3 did that. Like Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed did it before that. Like the idea in like that mechanic is not new to Breath of the Wild, right? So games aren't directly influenced by Breath of the Wild if they have that, right? But there are other things, like you can look at Genshin Impact or that Immortals Phoenix Rising game and understand pretty comfortably that those games were somewhat inspired by Breath of the Wild, right? They are taking direct mechanics from Breath of the Wild and direct implementation of those mechanics from the way they are in Breath of the Wild, right? Like climbing things with the stamina bar, even like ways that UI elements work and stuff like that. So I wanted to explain that a little bit on influences before someone tries to call me out for being, because I know we talk about like in EWBs and Weeb Clubs and stuff. I didn't want someone to call me out for being a hypocrite. I do think it's very different when you talk about games as a medium because it's much easier to look at mechanics and determine where that mechanic came from, but to determine where storytelling tropes or storytelling ideas came from, generally you go further and further and further and further and further back, and you end up like back at like you end up back like thousands of years ago. And the thing with games that makes it easier is they've really only existed in like a modern sense since like the 80s, early 90s. So the industry is only 30, 40 years old. So it's much easier to go back and look at things and follow trends and go back. Even like 3D games, right, only existed since, the mid to late 90s, right? So it's very easy to go back 25 years and follow these trends and see when certain things happened, especially for 7th generation games, because things were still kind of just getting figured out then. You know what I mean? So that's just like a difference. And a large part of it is just how new of a medium games are. Okay, the Snyder Cut, I actually am really considering adding. I thought the Snyder Cut was so phenomenal. It was unexpectedly phenomenal. I was not expecting to sit down and watch the Snyder Cut and it to make me like Ben Affleck's Batman. But at the end of the Snyder Cut, I actually really liked him, and I would have been okay with seeing him again. Same thing with Henry Cavill Superman. Even though I think Henry Cavill Superman, I mean, let's be fucking real. Henry Cavill looks like goddamn Superman. Like, this guy looks the part. He's like perfect casting, Ezra Miller's Flash was a fucking hero in the movie. He was like the best part of it. It made Cyborg a real character. Aquaman was great. Everyone was great in the movie. Everyone did something. It's unbelievably good. It's so fucking phenomenal. It blows my mind that like it got butchered so hard. Now, part of the reason it's actually as good as it is because it is 4 hours, because it does take a lot of time to establish what it's going for and set it up and do it all. And you could cut some stuff from it, but I actually think that the length is part of what made the movie as good as it was, because there was so much going on that you were really able to take it all in. And like another thing that like the fucking Joss Whedon cut fucked up is like there are action scenes that are taken directly from the Snyder cut into the Joss Whedon Justice League, and they're harder to follow in the Joss Whedon version. Like you watch it in the Snyder cut and it's like, yeah, this is fucking great. It's like this Wonder Woman action scene where she's stopping a bank robbery, and I'm watching, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm into this. And you watch the other one, it's like, I don't know, this is fucking bad. So whatever. Snyder cut's really good. I actually really recommend it. I do think to watch the Snyder cut though, as sad as it is, you do have to watch Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. You could probably get away without watching some of the other ones. But you absolutely have to watch Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. It has to be done. Because this movie is a direct sequel to those two. And if you haven't watched it, you're just going to be lost with a lot of character motivations, especially for Batman. JoJolion, great. I might come back and add JoJolion. We'll count when I'm done going through initially. But JoJolion was good. There's a Weeb Club on it. That's all I'm going to say. The Pussy series, boys. It's time. Pussy. Pussy 2. Pussy 3, Wet Beach Pussies, Hentai Pussy, Hentai Pussy 2. We'll come back to the other games in the Pussy series a little bit later. But the Pussy series is very similar to Twerk Hero, gentlemen. It's so unbelievably clear of like everything else that I can't in good faith put it on. You know what I mean? Just like it's disrespectful to Twerk Hero and to everything Lil Nas has done to put that on a list with other things. It's disrespectful to the Pussy series to put it on a list along with other things, because what it does is just so transcendent, you know? Ted Lasso is absolutely going on the list. I fucking love Ted Lasso. It took me a little bit to finish season 2 because when I caught up to season 2, I had like 3 episodes left, so I just waited and then waited too long. But Ted Lasso's fucking great. I cannot fucking wait for Ted Lasso season 3. Because Ted Lasso season 1 and 2 fucking got me. It is a Vindy show through and through. It's also just a great show. It is legitimately a reason to have Apple TV Plus. Like, I'm not kidding. It is worth having Apple TV Plus for Ted Lasso. If I don't have it still from like, you know, like you get like a year free when you get an Apple device, I will wait until obviously season 3 comes out, and I will pay for a month of Apple TV Plus to watch Ted Lasso. Because I think the show's that fucking worth it. Ace of Diamond going on the list. I think if I remade my manga 5x5 right now, Ace of Diamond would be on there and would be higher than at least one of the baseball manga I have on there currently. Get fucked, Daniel. Shit goes hard. I love it. Yeah. I mean, just look at this fucking man. Ugh. He's so good. Okay, Cyber Pussy 2020, another game in the Pussy series. Captain Marvel, Hentai Arena, Holy Pussy, and Pussy 4, and Hentai Dance. You might think, why Hentai Dance? That's not a member of the Pussy series. It is a secret member of the Pussy series, because the character model in Hentai Dance is the same character model as Hentai Arena, Holy Pussy. Fun little Pussy series fact for y'all. Baki is going on here, actually. I will put Baki on here. I'm not going to specify parts, but I think if I had to say, I would say my favorite Baki part is part 4. But Baki's really good. It does a lot of things really great. I love Baki as a character. I love his growth, and I like just a lot of the aspects of it. The Dune movie was really pog. I don't know how much people would get out of the Dune movie if they haven't read the books, because I do think that certain things would be lost on someone. If they hadn't read the books and didn't know like some of the more specifics about like, you know, some of the characters and some of the things going on. But I mean, great soundtrack. I think visually it's an insanely good looking movie. So I definitely think Dune's like pog, and you know, it's good. New Grappler Baki. Yeah, Baki. It's good. The Guardians video game absolutely goes on here. I was excited. If you guys were in my stream when like I was streaming, I think E3 or the Game Awards, whenever it was announced, I was definitely streaming at the time. And I remember saying that I thought the game looked good. I was interested in it. And everyone, when the first fucking trailer came out, I was like, this looks terrible. I can't believe Square Enix is making another Marvel game. Right? But I was a man, and I said that I thought it looked good. And then it came out, and I played it, and I agree that the game is fucking good. I actually think the Guardians game, it's one of my favorite games of this year. I think it's one of the best games that came out this year. It does everything you would want from a Guardians game, and I actually think it eclipses the Guardians movies. And I personally would say that I don't think it's like that close, because I think part of it just is that you have so much more time in a video game. You can give all of the Guardians direct character development, right? So it's really great because every Guardian gets like really good character development throughout the game. And so, you know, you have good moments for Rocket, and good moments for Groot, and good moments for Drax, and good moments for Gamora, and good moments for Star-Lord. And it's also interesting because they're together at the start of the game, but they're not really working as a team at the start of the game. And then as they go, you get to the points where they're working more and more as a team. So then you go to do some stuff, and they're a team there, and so then they're a team for the rest of the game. It's great. It's fucking phenomenal. I think the game's super pog, really good. I really like it, and I would be okay with more Square Enix Marvel games as long as they're like Guardians of the Galaxy. If they are like Avengers, I'm going to kill myself, because Avengers is bad. This game was terrible. I didn't hate it at the beginning, but the more I played it, the more I disliked it, to the point where when I was at the end of the game, I actively wanted to die. And then I did the first expansion, and it did not get better. Danganronpa 1 is good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. But I didn't love it. And I want to play 2. But before I play 2, I want to have 3 and Ultra Despair Girls, and they did not go on sale for the summer sale. So I am waiting for them to go on sale. Whenever they go on sale, I will buy them, and then I will play 2. But I didn't enjoy Danganronpa 1. I thought that it got pretty wild by the end and pretty good by the end, where I was like super into some of the stuff going on. So yeah. Arcane was fucking awesome. I don't know who all here has seen Arcane. I think everyone should watch it. I think it actually, I'm going to go ahead and say, I think it is the best looking animated show I've ever seen. Visually as a show, it's fucking insanely impressive. I really like Arcane, and I think that people should watch it, because I think it fucking is great. It gets better as it goes. Jinx is really hot. Caitlyn's really hot. Yeah, it's just a really, really sick show. I'm really excited for season 2. Yeah, I agree. I guess I should mention that you don't ever have to play a game of League of Legends in your life to watch Arcane. If you don't like League, you should still watch Arcane, because I think it's just a really good television show. Removed from the game. Baki, good. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. I have to add this game because I put 50 hours into it this year. Was not planning to do that. Originally, wasn't even going to pick up the game. But then I played the fuck out of it. I like grinded the fuck out of the game. I beat the Elite Four. And then I went and did all the in-game content, made a new team for the Cynthia rematch. Okay, I made one team for the second like Elite Four rematch, or for the first rematch of the Elite Four, so the second of 3 Elite Four things. Then I made a new team, like a new team for the next Elite Four rematch. And then now I'm in the middle of making a team for the Battle Tower that involves like EV training and shit. So Brilliant Diamonds just turned me into a little psycho. I grinded the fuck out of that game. Great. I have to add it. Yakuza 0 I'm going to add. But I don't think it's going to play super high, just because I've played another Yakuza game now that I like more. Which I know that saying that I like Yakuza 1 more than 0 is like the hottest take in the world. And people are like, Yakuza fans are actively going to crucify me for saying it. But I have my reasons, and I'm sticking to my fucking guns. And those reasons, I guess I'll say them now before I just like get a bunch of comments or whatever. The biggest reasonings are the story in Yakuza 1 is much more something that I enjoy. I love the two best friends fist fighting, at the end, like the final boss, like, and everything that leads up to it is great. I love the way that it incorporates, the koi and the dragon into that, with their tattoos on their backs. I love the relationship between Kiryu and Haruka. It's like actually like one of my biggest motivators for playing the series right now is just because, like, okay, I know everyone loves Majima, and don't get me wrong, Majima's great. I love him. His arc in Zero's like really good. But Kiryu it has the potential to be one of my favorite characters of all time. Like I just know it after Zero, and then especially after fucking 1. Kiryu, and by 1 I mean Kiwami, by the way. I didn't play the PS2 version of 1. I played Kiwami because I'm a fucking adult and I'm not going to emulate a PS2 and play the dub. So I played Kiwami. Kiryu is easily, very possibly, I could see him being one of my favorite characters of all time. So I very much appreciated a game that was focused entirely on him. I love his story. I also think that Zero or Kiwami had a better progression system than Zero. I don't much like the everything you do gives you. I actually think it does work really well for Zero's, like, kind of like what the game's about, right? I mean, you can even see it here, right? There's just money everywhere, right? Because even though there's like the 10 billion in Kiwami, Zero is very much a game where the monetary factor and the Japanese bubble, right? Like the economic bubble that was going on in the 80s was like a very large part of the story and things going on in it. Right? I will come watch your game, but I got to finish this first, King. And so I get why, like, money is how you upgrade your abilities. I do think it's thematic, and I do think it works well inside the context of when in Japan it's happening. But I don't enjoy that as much as I enjoyed the level up system, mainly because, especially early on in the game, the level ups made me feel more incentivized than I was in Zero to start doing a bunch more side content, which then led to me doing more side content than I was expecting, which led to I finished Zero in like 22 hours, right? And Zero is like actually pretty long, right? Like it's probably twice as long as Kiwami, just main story-wise. It took me like 22 hours to beat Zero. I finished Kiwami. It took me like 35 hours because I did a lot of side content. So just like, I think it's a mix of all of those things that led to me liking Kiwami 1 more. Or to liking Kiwami more. I Dragon Style is like the coolest thing in the world. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't really like a lot of Majima's styles. I think they're cool and they're really fun to fight against. And I get why people like them. I did some sub-stories, but I didn't do all the sub-stories in Zero. And I didn't do all the sub-stories in Kiwami either. But I'm going to keep it $150 with y'all. I think the sub-stories are great. And I think that there are some sub-stories that are really fun and really cool and like worth doing. But I'm much more interested in the main story. I'm much more interested in the Yakuza, like, the crime story and the drama that unfolds around the main story in these games. Like, I just am more than the sub stories. Like, I'm just gonna keep it $1. I don't get the, like, I get why people like doing sub stories. I loved doing some of the side content, some of the sub stories in Kiwami. But the best part of the game isn't the sub stories. It's the main story. It's the crime drama and the emotions and everything that's going on in the main story is like the best part of the game. So I'm not going to sit here and worship the sub stories when it's like they're good, but they're not the best part of the game. And I think people are lying to themselves if they say they are. But yeah, so I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved Zero, but I liked Kiwami 1. I like Kiwami more, like a lot more. I'm going to add No Way Home. I saw it twice in theaters. Yeah, I heard that too. I couldn't imagine playing the original Yakuza without those Nishiki cutscenes, because I feel like those Nishiki cutscenes help flesh him out so much to where, like, it turns Nishiki from, like, I imagine he would just be like a fucking asshole, and especially after playing Zero. So you see Nishiki and Kiryu be best friends, and then you see what happens to Nishiki and what turns him into the person he is. It makes him this tragic character where, like, it makes not only what happens with him at the end of the game, but just like even in that fight, it was making me emotional playing it. And then there were like flashbacks that were going on in the fight as you're beating the shit out of him. It's great. It's poggers. I'm a fan. All right. I very much enjoy that game. But yeah, I mean, and then everything else. There's nothing else here that would go on my list at all. To go over the list of my 20 favorite pieces of media I experienced In the year 2022, here I won't show them, or but I'll I'm gonna. That's the drum roll. My 20 favorite things I experienced in the year of our Lord and Savior 2021. Number 20 is JoJolion, JoJo's Part 8. Number 19 is BoJack Horseman. Number 18 is Assassin's Creed 2. Number 17 is The Suicide Squad. 16 is Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. 15 is the first season of Arcane. 14 is Baki. I'm going to count all of it, but my favorite part was part 4. 13 is Parks and Recreation, just the whole show. 12 was Ace of Diamond, the whole manga, like up to current. 11 was Ted Lasso. 10 was Fear. 9 was Yakuza 0. 8 was Spider-Man No Way Home. 7 was Dune, the book, not the movie. 6 was the Guardians of the Galaxy game. 5 was It Takes Two. 4 was Monster Hunter Rise. 3 was Sket Dance. 2 was ReZero Season 2. And then the number one, my favorite thing I experienced last year, if anyone knows me, it's obvious, it was Gintama. It was easily Gintama. Not even close, it was Gintama. In the list last year, it was my favorite. I had my favorite manga, or not my favorite manga, actually, because it's still Danganronpa. But one of my favorite manga, my second favorite manga, Naruto was number 1. I never knew that. This year, it's Gintama. And I have no predictions for what it'll be next year. I imagine it'll probably be a video game that goes super high up on my favorite games, because right now, I didn't actually play a game last year that I would put on my 4x4, which is the first time. The closest is Monster Hunter Rise, but it doesn't even beat out World for me. So that's the first time in a long time that I've had a year where I didn't play a game that was a favorite of mine, but I did play games that I enjoyed a lot. Very high chance it's a Yakuza game, because I would like to finish that series this year. Could also be something else. Who knows what I'll play? But that's where we're standing right now. Number 1 is Gintama. It is my favorite anime of all time. Shit goes dummy hard. So for all the people watching this on YouTube, for the stream boys, stream's still going afterwards. But for the YouTube friends, thank you guys for watching the video. I appreciate it a lot. If you enjoyed yourself, be sure to like the video and subscribe, and be sure to hit that bell, and then go over to Twitch and follow me there. I've been doing this for an hour and 45 minutes right now. This video is absolutely going to cut down. My goal is going to be to shoot for like an hour for the whole thing. We'll probably not get that, but I might, because I'll probably cut out a lot of the things that I think were boring to talk about, and just make sure I show like the ones that ended up, on the list, and then some other ones that I think, maybe were interesting or funny to talk about. But yeah, so if you wanted to see a longer form of this, where I went through the entire 200-piece media thread, follow me on Twitch. If you want to see me then do whatever I do after this on stream, go to Twitch. That's where I'm chilling. Every Thursday. I should have said this at the beginning. You know what? Okay, hold on. I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna cut it and put it at the beginning of the video. Every Thursday I'm streaming on Twitch. So, if you ever want to know, when is Vindy streaming? Every Thursday at around some point during the day, I will have a defined time, probably in the next couple weeks. I will always be live on twitch.tv. Realistically, it'll be at about 1 p.m. I'll go live 1 to 2 p.m. I will always be live on Twitch on Thursdays. So you can come to twitch.tv/VindyVondo, and you can see that. All right. Adios, muchachos, and I love y'all.